I'm going to start with the idea that something Peter Drucker came up with back in the 1950s, but it's actually something that has really taken off in the last 10 years. And that's the idea around purpose of your company and the purpose of yourself. Who you are and what you're leading. What is the purpose of the company or organization that you're a part of? Number one. Is that purpose aligned and understood throughout the company? And number three, do you have ways of measuring that? Now I'm going to ask you just to take a minute and talk to the person next to you and say, what is the purpose of my company or organization? Just take a minute, and if you don't know for sure and you can't clarify it, that's okay, all right? But just talk about that. And ideally, you can say it in 10 words or less, okay? Take a shot at it. Take a shot at it. Okay, let's ask a question. I want a show of hands. How many people were able to state the purpose of their organization in 6 words, or it might be 10 words or less? Say 10 words or less. How many people were able to state that? Okay, what about 25, 30%, 40% maybe? Okay, how many people were able to even to talk about your purpose and feel like, hey, I got real clarity around the purpose of my company? All right? All right, good, you're getting there. How many people, were there people in the room that said, man, I've thought about this, but I don't know if we have a purpose statement clearly for our company? How many people are dealing with that? Oh, okay, Grant, thank you for your honesty. That was one of your values. All right. Getting clear on your purpose, Peter Drucker said, is one of the hardest things for an executive to do. It takes real work, real clarity, deep soul searching, and understanding your environment and who you're competing with. Getting clear on how you're going to translate that into the company and the rest of your employees, and how it's going to drive strategy and integrate throughout your company, even harder. Developing measurements, that's not as hard, but it's something we often leave out. The purpose has been growing at about 85% of Fortune 500 companies are working on a purpose statement and getting clearer on it. But the question is, purpose is not connected to performance at all. It's really BS. It's a simple motto, unless you're driving it into the company, figuring out how to align the rest of the company, how it's shaping your strategies, and how you're measuring it. So what do we mean by purpose? Just to be clear on this, purpose is your reason for being. It's something that's beyond profit maximization. It's a concrete goal that is really important to have for your core of your company. Let me give you a couple examples of purpose. And by the way, these examples I'm giving you are people I have worked with personally over the years as CEOs. A little bit about me. I have spent my life advising CEOs. I've been a capital investor in many companies. I've done 2 startup companies and sold them. One right now is was just acquired by Stu McClure from number1.ai in Orange County. I've been, in the last 8 years, leading a group of Orange County CEOs as chairman called the CEO Leadership Alliance. And Mike Salem was my vice chair, who was the CEO of Edwards Lifesciences until last year. So the purpose of Edwards Lifesciences is helping patients is our life's work, and life is now. That's a great statement. It's short, it's concise, and it's driven throughout the company, everywhere and everything they do. Chipotle. Larry and I were with Brian Nichols last month at a lunch. He talked about his purpose. The purpose statement of Chipotle, which actually drove their brand to far surpass McDonald's and others, was cultivating a better world by growing sustainable agriculture, buying from sustainable agriculture and natural products. That was core to what they do, and it was very attractive. And you know who it attracted? Female Hispanics that wanted to come to work at Chipotle because they love food, they love natural food, they love a kitchen. And it turns out that out of the top 25% of performers in their stores, 70% are female Hispanics. Really interesting statistic. And they drive this idea of this natural food, healthy food, real food throughout the company. Another example, a CEO I worked with for years, Aetna, Mark Bertolini. He then went on to become the CEO of Bridgewater Capital, a good friend. He transformed the way to think about health insurance. And it was building better communities. He was absolutely committed to how health insurance could begin not just paying for your problems, but helping you build a healthier life and the things you could do to do that. They were making great progress, and then the government stopped them on one of their major acquisitions. Then somebody else came in, and it was a different strategy. So you see that purpose changes, and if you don't hold on to that purpose and you don't get clear on it, it can create all kinds of problems. And the CEO that went beyond Mark didn't know how to drive that purpose throughout the company, didn't know how to talk about it strategically. And they've not performed near as well because of that. So when you think about this element of having a purpose with clear alignment, and it's used to define your company decisions at work, the key link here that makes all the difference in what you do is leadership. That's your lever. Leadership is your lever for that aligned organization. That's you, okay? You taking the time to think about, what do we need to do here? Are we talking enough about this? Am I aware of how my purpose might need to change? I'll show you a little model of leadership I use on the 4 elements of leadership. It's called foresight, visioning, partnering, motivating. And in the middle is moral foundation. So foresight. Bill Gates had great foresight into thinking about the future and software, and that it was going to replace the IBM machine really as the most dominant and important thing. It was software, not the machinery. He got it. But then he said the purpose of Microsoft will be, in our great road ahead in the 90s, a PC on every desk. That was the purpose statement. Great. It was really good. And it was inspiring. And then Ballmer came in and stuck with that purpose and developed this real tough environment. He was a cheerleader, but he didn't know how to see the foresight near as well. That was not one of his strengths, and he didn't have people around him that understood that. Google was coming on the scene. What else came next after the internet for Microsoft that they missed? Anybody know? What did they miss? Phones, exactly. Ballmer missed how powerful phones were going to be, and he didn't pivot. He did not pivot. What else happened that Microsoft missed? Cloud, exactly. They missed the cloud. AWS was the first to do the cloud. Ballmer was still saying a PC on every desk, and we're going to make sure our software dominates and competes against the other software companies. He was missing a great opportunity. And as a result, Ballmer, in his 14 years of service as CEO, leaving as a billionaire, by the way, multi-billionaire, was able to achieve a 3% return on average on an annualized basis for your investors. That's all he was able to achieve. Now look, there's a lot of good that Ballmer did. He bought the Clippers, number one, all right? So we like that. Was that good? Maybe, yeah. At least he could buy some talent, right? So I like the guy. But foresight was not his strength. Nor was partnering his strength. Kind of being a great cheerleader was his strength. And he didn't have the people around him that he needed, nor a philosophy that he needed with this changing world. So then Satya Nadella comes in, and he changes the purpose statement. Can anybody say what the purpose statement of Microsoft is today? Anybody know it? I'd be surprised if you did, by the way. The purpose statement of Microsoft that Satya Nadella developed in 2014. I'm going to tell you, I read about his appointment, and then I read, here's the purpose that Satya Nadella has developed. And I said, I'm going to buy a lot of that stock right now. That was in 2014. The purpose that he created was empower every individual, every organization on the planet, think about that, and that's visionary, okay, on the planet to achieve more. Empower them to achieve more. And he said, we're going to do away with a lot of this hierarchy. We're going to do away with this forced ranking of people that Ballmer put in, very destructive. And we're going to start creating much more cross-disciplinary collaboration to carry out this purpose. I've got to empower my people in the front lines. I'm going to need to create a culture of learning. We were talking about a learning culture. He talks about that all the time. He said, we will lead with humility in our learning. We will collaborate with others. We will make deep investments in the cloud, in artificial intelligence, and in subscription services on the internet. Now that's foresight and visioning and partnering and motivating. That culture is turned on. I've worked with some of these people in Microsoft, and they are excited. That's leadership with a core purpose and figuring out how that is driven. And he talks about it. He holds on to that. So when you think about the leader is an integrator, you can think about it with that way. Purpose is the lever to integrate. It builds community, it builds high trust, it builds high commitment. He drove a learning culture, and he drove that culture of cross-collaboration. Now, not everybody needs to do it that way, but he knew he needed to do it that way. Another great leader that I had that privilege of working with in Orange County was Mike Musalem over 8 years, and before that, he was a friend. But he came in as vice chair with me, chairman of the CEO Leadership Alliance, which is the 60 largest companies in Orange County. Larry's a part of it, as a matter of fact. And we are working on our purpose, which is to help build a thriving Orange County. Errol Arkulik is a great partner with us. And it requires partnership to do this kind of work. It requires visioning. We have so much work to do in Orange County. We're a young county. And we have to work more collectively as business leaders to achieve great success and not leave people behind. In Orange County, we don't want to be in Hawaii with the rich people on the coast and everybody else poor in the middle. We don't want to leave people behind. And that's a moral foundation that comes from Mike Musalem. It came from me, and it came from the other leaders who signed up. And that is core to your leadership, that moral foundation that I drew out in that model. If that's not clear on what's driving you, then we're lost, okay? And there's some great stories. Errol told me a great story yesterday when he was growing up as a child. It helped shape his future, what he was going to do. He saw a person telling stories, and those stories taught morals. And those stories enthralled people. And he couldn't believe how powerful the storytelling was. And you're going to hear more about what he's going to talk about, storytelling today as an adult, and what this could mean for our society. Mike Musalem was a rebel without a cause. He was really going down the wrong way, and a mentor came along and straightened him out when he was in college. And for that, he was forever grateful. And he said, I'm going to give back, and I'm going to help mentor others, and I'm going to build something great that really motivates people. So your purpose comes out of your head and your heart. That's where it starts with. Now, when I think about this leader as integrator that's driving all of this, I can think about Mike and something he did. And remember, his purpose is helping our patients is our life's work, and life is now. So they create all these great things to demonstrate that. One I absolutely love, and I had the privilege of being out there one time to see this. They have a patient day every year at Edwards Lifesciences. And if you don't know about Edwards Lifesciences, they were the revolutionary leader in creating an aorta heart valve transplant. It comes through they can actually take this heart valve. It comes up through the femoral artery down here. Comes up, they plant it into the heart, they pull out the implant, pull it back out, and there's no surgery required. They can leave the old valve in, and you've got a new aorta heart valve for the rest of your life. It's phenomenal. And Mike, by the way, talk about courage, he brought in 18 surgeons that were heart surgeons and asked him, what do you think? Should we do this? 16 of them said, no, it will never work. But Mike went on to invest another $200 million and said, I can make this work. So what he does is he does this clapping line. And he brings in over 150 patients from all over the world every year. And he has all the employees on two sides line up. And at the end of that line is a person who sewed the heart valve, that every heart valve has a number on it. So you as a patient start at the beginning of this line, and you start walking through this line, and they're clapping, they're cheering, they're crying. And at the end of that line is the person who sewed the heart valve. And they hug each other, and they say, you saved my life. Thank you. Now that's taking purpose and realizing it into your strategy, into the core of what your company is about. It's that kind of leadership we want to build today. Think about for you, do you need to dust off your purpose? Do you need to relook at it? How do you get that excitement going in your company and keep it going? It's one of the most difficult things for a leader to do, but one of the very most important. Thank you.